Hello. Let's try something different tonight, shall we? Let's have some fun. This isn't my story, but a girl from my old youth group, which happened years ago, but it still freaks me out, so I feel like it needs to be shared. Her grandparents woke up one night to someone pounding on their front door, so obviously they get up to go check who it is, because it was so late. This was around 2 or 3 a.m. Her grandfather looks at the peephole and sees this woman in bloodied and tattered clothes, pounding on the door, yelling and screaming about how they need to let her in, and she's hurt, and she needs to come in. Obviously, her grandfather called the police and informed them of what was happening, but he didn't let the woman in. She continued to pound on the door for a couple of minutes before she finally stopped. Her grandfather figured that maybe she had left to go to another house, but no. He looked through the peephole and saw the lady standing at the peephole with no expression on her face. Eventually, a man walked up to the door, and him and the lady walked away, as if nothing happened. I don't know what happened afterward, if the police ever caught them, but I still think about this story to this day, and it gives me chills every time. Always call the police if you find yourself in a situation like this, and never open your door. A couple years back when I was 17 years old, I was really big into Snapchat. I was kind of obsessed with building my Snap score, so I would add random friends and accept random requests to do so. One day, I really needed a ride to a pawn shop to sell something, so I posted on my story and asked if anyone was able to pick me up and take me. I was more so expecting a close friend to respond and give me a ride, but I got a text from some girl I had never talked to before. She was my friend on Snapchat, but we had never had a single conversation or shared any pictures back and forth before. She texted me something along the lines of, "Where are you heading?" I replied to her saying that I needed a ride to the pawn shop. I then proceeded to ask her if she even lived in the same state, which she did. But the place she said she lived was an hour or two drive away from me. I told her not to worry about it, and that I didn't want her to drive 2 hours here to take me to a pawn shop. She replied with, "I mean, as long as you have some gas money, it's cool. I'm bored anyway." For some reason, that didn't sit well with my gut, and I added that it was okay. But she insisted, so I agreed that she could come and pick me up, if she was willing to send a picture of herself. I was just being cautious. She did so, and then asked me what my address was. Now, I've always been a cautious person, so I didn't feel comfortable with sharing my address. I ended up giving her the address to a gas station that was about a 15-minute walk away from my house. She replied that she would be on her way shortly. I sat there contemplating for a solid 5 minutes or so. Then I texted her and said, "Hey, I'm so sorry. My friend just pulled up out of nowhere and he's gonna take me. Sorry for the inconvenience. Maybe we can still chill sometime." My friend wasn't there. I didn't want to chill with her later. I just had a really bad feeling in my gut not to go through with it. The fact that she was willing to drive 2 hours to pick up someone she had never met before just didn't sit well with me. About a year later, I was 18 and working at a grocery store. I took my lunch break and went out to my car to eat. I ended up getting a text on Facebook from a friend, which led me to hop on Facebook and just scroll through my feed. I passed a news story that had one of those attachments because it was a source to a different website. I always scrolled past them, but I had caught a glimpse of whoever was on the cover of the article and scrolled back up because they looked somewhat familiar. When I scrolled back up, I got the chills. It was the girl from my Snapchat a year prior. The headline of the attachment stated that she was arrested for attempted murder. I know that there is a possibility that she wasn't a bad person before, and something just happened to make her attempt such a thing. But something just tells me that I dodged a major bullet by trusting my gut and not going with her. It was the end of 2018, our first getaway together as a couple. We went to the Appalachian Trail in Virginia. We were naive. We thought it would be more romantic to camp out as far off the beaten path as possible. We walked really far into the wilderness and got a spot where nobody passed us all afternoon. We were making s'mores over the campfire after it had just got dark. It was twilight. All of a sudden, my boyfriend saw a man approaching us slowly. He was creeping up on us. At first, we thought it was a park ranger coming to tell us to put out our campfire. I began to hide the weed, thinking this was our biggest concern. My boyfriend called out to him, "Hey, can I help you?" We thought it was weird that he didn't have any kind of light on him. He didn't have any camping bag. Nothing for camping. Why was he out here so far with no camping gear at night? With no light? He sped up after my boyfriend called out and came right at him. He had this strange look in his eyes. The look was absent, blank, and weird. He didn't answer my boyfriend. He just kept walking right at him. Red flags going off at this point. When my boyfriend realized it wasn't a park ranger, he quickly put his hand in his pocket where he had a concealed knife. He made it clear he had a weapon. It was only after my boyfriend did this that the guy acknowledged us. He said something weird. "Oh, I was just wondering if y'all were having a party." Remember, we were miles away from a single soul, and it was beginning to get dark when he began to approach us slowly without a flashlight. He had no camping gear with him, just a tiny drawstring bag on his back. After he asked what we were doing, we didn't give him any answers, but asked him what was going on. He didn't answer. He just looked past my boyfriend towards the site. It was windy, so we had put up a tarp to shield ourselves. This also meant that guy approaching our site couldn't see how many people were at our site. He asked, "How many people you guys got with you?" He began to circle us to check out our site. He asked again if we had any other people with us, and my boyfriend didn't answer. He carried on circling around our camp. Now, bear in mind, we had set up our camp on this crazy steep hill. It was the only spot for miles that was possible to put up a camp. However, he told us that he was going to set up camp nearby. He proceeded to walk off in the direction straight up the hill. We knew for a fact that he couldn't put up a campsite there because of the terrain. Remember, he had no light and no bag with camp gear. Nothing. We were silent. We listened to his footsteps on the leaves as he walked up the hill in this direction completely off the path. He walked for about 30 seconds, and then his footsteps stopped completely. He was just still, silent. We knew he was still there, but we couldn't see him. It was dark. At this point, I was freaking out. I didn't want to seem like a sissy in front of my boyfriend. We had a talk about whether we needed to leave. My boyfriend handed me a knife and said if anything happens to him, I should run. At this point, I knew it wasn't just me freaking out unnecessarily. He said we needed to get out of there, and just to grab essential items. I was scared that he was about to shoot us dead. Later on, when I told my boyfriend this, he said no. This is the type of guy that would prefer to stab his victims to death. We began to walk, run, down the trail in the pitch black with our lights off, for at least a mile. My boyfriend looked back to see him staring at one point. He ran behind me to protect me. This experience stuck with me. I still can't think of a rational or non-menacing reason why that guy was there that night. I've tried. Now this was at the end of 2018, but my boyfriend, now husband, and I were remembering it last night. I decided to type into Google if there had been any murders in the same place around the same time. There was. A few months after our incident on the same trail, an unhinged man with crazy eyes approached some hikers at twilight as it was getting dark. He behaved in a deranged and aggressive manner before stabbing a man to death with a 17-inch knife. A woman he was with ran for her life down the trail. Finally, she raised her hands in surrender, and he began to stab her. Somehow, she managed to get away. The killer carried on wandering the trail and shouted to the other campers to give him a flashlight. They didn't, thank goodness. All of these details are the same as the guy who approached us. Same age, same deranged eyes, same lack of flashlight, same time to approach us, same look, same place. The more articles I read, the more I realize this psychopath has been roaming the trails and harassing hikers for a while. A few people differently had reported him, not just us. Apparently, this erratic and violent psychopath was well known to law enforcement along the Appalachian Trail. His name is James Sovereign Jordan. We got lucky. It could have been us. Congratulations. You made it to the other side, and you escaped the eerie hollows. That was fun, wasn't it? I like to think so. That last one, though. Fuck camping. Thank you so much for listening. Please be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy being disturbed. And remember, be scared. Be very scared.